we doing out here, Fabrice?
Right, we're stuck out here because we're going to talk about winter soil care.
Great.
So this is what I'm going to talk about now. It's really relevant to large planters and the open ground. So what we're going to discuss is several different ways of maintaining soil fertility over the winter, and also maybe getting a crop off the ground over the winter.
Great.
So, in nature, what keeps the soil fertile is three separate things. A canopy of leaves, like these,
Yep.
over the ground, protecting the soil.
Yep.
That canopy of leaves is capturing sunlight, capturing the energy that's falling on the ground, and pumping it into the soil in the form of sugars. So the second thing we need is living plant roots underground to feed the soil life. And then the third thing is a layer of compost or dying down plant matter on the surface. Again, because there's all sorts of bugs that expect that to be there that help your plants. Now, the problem with winter in a veggie plot is you harvest all your veggies and you've got bare ground, so it's often. So what do you do with that? How do you keep your soil ticking over in the winter so it's ready in the spring?
Okay.
And also, how do you add plant food to the soil to make up for what the plants have taken out the year before?
Okay.
So there's kind of three ways of doing this you can think about doing. The first thing is, just to protect the soil from the sun in the winter, from the weather and everything else, what's really beneficial is even if you've got to do nothing else, just put a covering over your soil. It could be a sheet of plastic, it could be cardboard pinned down against the wind, it could be dead leaves, it could be just to try debris from the garden, or just half-made compost. If you've got it, you can put down well-rotted compost or well-rotted animal manure.
Okay.
Because it's been rotted down and properly composted, the nutrients are stable and won't wash out in the winter rain.
Okay.
If you put fertilizer down in the winter, or you put fresh manure, that goodness washes out and then becomes a problem for the groundwater.
Okay.
So put the well-rotted stuff down if you want in the winter, and that will feed your crops the following year, and it will also leave a mulch on the surface protecting the crop. If you don't have that, add your fertilizer in the spring with whatever mulch you've been able to rustle up.
Okay.
Then the next thing is a canopy of leaves. There's two ways of doing that. One way, and that's what we're getting ready for you in the greenhouse, is to plant an overwintering crop. So we've got lots and lots of different leafy crops we've been talking about in all these videos. They will function as your canopy.
Yep.
The other thing they'll do is they'll put roots into the ground and they'll keep the soil ticking over the winter.
Yep.
So if at all possible, grow a plant.
Okay.
We've got loads of plants for you to grow.
Okay. We shouldn't leave bare soil then.
Basically, never leave bare soil any time of year.
Yep.
It's just a bit trickier in the winter.
Yep.
Another technique you can use, which you sometimes hear people talk about, is to sow a green manure.
Ah, yeah. What is a green manure?
A green manure is essentially a green cover crop, a crop you plant basically to cover the soil. It's a crop you're not going to eat, but it's going to grow on the soil, it's going to lock up any nutrients that could have washed out in the winter rains, and it's going to hold those in its leaves, and you're going to either traditionally dig those leaves in, or compost them, or just leave them as a mulch on the surface in the spring, and then you can plant your new crop into that.
Okay.
So that does a lot of the jobs of spreading compost and putting a crop in.
Yep.
In a small space, I'd suggest the mulching and using crops. If you've got a larger space, you can think about doing a green manure.
Okay. But you don't advocate digging?
I don't advocate digging because it's a lot of work. It's actually quite disruptive to all the natural processes in the soil, which work with your plants, protect them from disease, make sure they're more drought resistant, make sure they're better fed.
Okay.
So you dig, you can compensate by adding even more compost, by adding even more water, and by doing even more weeding, but it's even more of everything if you dig.
Okay.
So, dig to get the rubble out, dig to get the shopping trolley out, or whatever's in your garden, or
what
your
about
space.
weeds? Do you advocate keeping weeds?
Right, well, weeds are a bit of a problem.
Yeah.
Largely because they set seed and they spread.
Right.
If weeds just sat there and did nothing, they're essentially a cover crop.
Right.
But we've got some weeds here, got a couple here, which grow through the winter.
Yeah.
So we've got chickweed and we've got dog's mercury. This is actually a very poisonous plant. This you can eat, but in the winter. This will set seed in the winter, and those seeds will go into the top of the soil and can cause you problems.
Yeah.
So, Yeah, it's probably best to keep those under control.
So you just pull them, you don't cut them.
You
You
can
leave-
mulch if they haven't set seeds yet. You can mulch on top.
Okay,
So a great big layer of cardboard over the winter will get rid of all of this, and
Okay.
then you won't disturb the soil.
brilliant.
These will just get eaten by the earthworms. It becomes earthworm food in a positive.
Okay.
If it doesn't have seeds on it,